Donda.
After months and years of waiting, it is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. Donda has finally arrived. I woke up this morning with shit in my pants. I checked my phone, and sure enough, there it was right before me, Donda, waiting for me on Apple Music to be listened to. And today, I'm going to tell you about my experience listening to the album, because yes, I did listen to the entire album front to back with no skips. And it was an experience, I guess you could say. Aside from Yandhi, Donda was like Kanye West's most anticipated project of this modern, recent era, the past few years, right? So there was a lot of high expectations, and I had high expectations as well. I was expecting this project to be, before it dropped, I was expecting this project to be, some of the most profound, some of the most artistic music to come out of the past, couple years. It didn't meet a lot of my expectations, but it was still a good project, I would say. With all these really hyped, really hyped projects like Whole Lotta Red, Eternal Take, things like that. They are good projects. I like Whole Lotta Red, I like Eternal Take, but they didn't really live up to that hype of like being hyped up for like literally years. They didn't really live up to that hype. And Donda, I don't feel like lived up to that specific hype. A few tracks did. I definitely liked a lot of tracks here, and the album was a very good album. I'm not telling you it's a bad album. Is it one of Kanye's better albums? I wouldn't really say. But it's a good album. I'll just tell you that it's a good album. I will say though, the intro track, the Donda chant, that was something else. Donda. The production on the album is overall great. Features assistance from a plethora of different prestigious producers. Mike Dean actually appears on the album in several places. Just a lot of good production from Kanye, from other producers, beat makers, etc. One thing I will say is that Kanye isn't exactly vocally there for the majority of the project. There are certainly tracks where he does well on verses. There are certainly tracks where some of his parts hit hard or some of them hit deep, things like that. But there are other tracks where it's just like he doesn't really add anything to the track, he doesn't really add anything to what the features are doing. And I know instrumentally and constructively and, as a director, as a producer, as an executive producer, Kanye is definitely all over this album, and this album would not be what it is without Kanye, obviously. But I feel like vocally, he's just not there for, like, I would say, like, half the album. He's just kind of not really there. He's not really giving it his all. Or maybe he is giving it his all, and it's just not working. But there are a lot of lackluster verses by Kanye on this thing. There are a lot of poorly put together verses by Kanye on this thing. And I feel like the features kind of carry all the high points of the record. And I know Kanye is always been one for adding a whole bunch of features to, make this gigantic body of art, Obviously, I don't expect Kanye to be individually lyrically carrying every single track. That's not what I'm saying, but there was just a handful of tracks where he didn't really need to be there, or he could have done a lot better. But yeah, most of the vocal high points in the album are achieved by the features. Forey, Travis Scott, Baby Keem, I can name a whole bunch more. There's literally like 20, 30 something features on this thing. And one thing that's weird is most of like the better or stronger tracks come towards like the middle or the end of the album. Like the beginning of the track list is kind of boring. Like there are some good tracks in the beginning. There's some good tracks in the beginning, but towards the end, you're just getting like hit after hit after hit. It actually gets a lot better. But after the intro, there's Jail, the first real song in the album. Kanye, good melodies, good vocals, just melodic vocals. I like Kanye's parts. Jay-Z's verse, it was a bit minimal. It was a bit like. It was a good verse. I'll just leave it at that. I like the verse. I know this is later on in the track list, but I just want to say that Baby Keem and Travis Scott absolutely killed their parts on Praise God. I love that track. One of my favorite tracks on the project. Playboi Carti did good on Off the Grid. I liked his part. I thought it hit pretty hard. But Kanye kind of ruined that track. His parts were either like annoying or lackluster or boring, just sporadically throughout the track. I guess I could say Jonah has good melodies, good singing vocals. I like the ambient instrumental in the background. The track Okay Okay started off good. Kanye's verse was good. The beginning of Lil Yachty's verse was good, but the middle slash end of Lil Yachty's verse was just randomly became horrendous for some reason. I don't know what he decided to do in the middle of his verse, but he just kind of fell apart towards the end. 24 had nice melodies. I liked the whole choir kind of backing everything up. The track Remote Control, another one of my favorites, had a very good part from Young Thug. I was surprised to hear like the kind of like the vocoder effect that was in there for a few seconds. But yeah, Young Thug did pretty solid on that track. And I actually thought Kanye did excellently on that one too. Sorry. I actually like that track a lot, and I think everybody collectively made a good track there. The self-titled track, which I guess you could say is an interlude, features a spoken word passage from Kanye's mother, Donda, who this album is named after, who actually passed away a few years ago. I don't know how they got a hold of this spoken word passage to put it on the album, because I don't know if this album was announced before her passing, but she knew about it somehow. But there's Kanye and other guest vocalists kind of like vocally riffing in the background. There's a little passage of singing at the end. Overall, I like this one too. But one of my least favorite pet peeves in rap music, this is just one of them, is when like lines are recorded separately. Like one line is recorded after the other in separate recordings, and then they're kind of like put together into a verse, and sometimes the lines overlap, so it sounds really messy. Or like when the artist is trying to fit too many words into one line, and it just kind of like the lines overlap together in the mix. And I mean, Kanye does this a lot over the album. There are a lot of tracks where he doesn't do it, but he does it a lot over the album. Lil Yachty did it in his verse too. There's a lot of people who did it on this album, and it just gets on my nerves. I don't know why. I just feel like on this specific album, Kanye isn't showcasing that he is as good at rapping as he used to be. I know he is, because in tracks I'll talk about later, he does rap strongly, but he's not really showing it that well, aside from like one or two tracks here. I feel like nowadays, most of the time, not all the time, but I feel like most of the time, if Kanye was asked to completely carry a track on his own, vocally, no features, just write his own verse, and it's just him rapping over the whole track, I feel like normally, in a handful of cases, it wouldn't go over that well. At least now, because I know he's been able to do that several times in the past. He did try to do this on Heaven and Hell, which I did enjoy. I thought it was a good track, but the short length of this track in comparison with all the other tracks on the album kind of shows that he can't really do this for that long. Another favorite track of mine was Keep My Spirit, which actually features guest verses from the members of Griselda, or at least two of the three members of Griselda. Griselda is one of my favorite current hip-hop groups right now. Was surprised to hear them on this album. Really surprised to hear them on here. I loved both of their verses. I absolutely loved Kanye's verse too at the end there. This is one of those tracks where literally like everybody just collectively makes something great. The instrumental was great. All the verses were great. The mixing was great. I love this track. Not to mention the chorus, which was soft and melodic and just perfectly mixed. I don't know what they did there, but I don't even know who was on the chorus, because I can't see the credits to this stuff. But whoever was on the chorus there, they did great too. It was just perfect. On Jesus Lord, both parts 1 and 2, you'll find Kanye going a bit more lyrical, getting a little emotional about his mother, again, who this project is named after. There's also a guest feature on the album that I can't place my finger on. The vocalist sounds so familiar, but again, there's no listed features here. I didn't bother looking it up on Genius or anything. I just literally listened to it and came straight here. But yeah, whoever the guest vocalist is did great. Kanye did great. I like that track. Overall, excellent. The only thing that I didn't like very much is that parts 1 and 2 were a lot too similar. They featured like the same vocal passages, or like part 1 had the same verse as part 2, so it's kind of like listening to the same track, except there's some differentiations here and there. I don't know what the hell they did on Tell the Vision. I guess they just like took one of Pop Smoke's unreleased verses, ripped the original beat from it, and then just put a few piano notes repeating in the background. It's really fucking bad. It's really fucking annoying as well. It just sounds like a middle schooler tried to make some reprod of a Pop Smoke song. It's not good at all. They could have used Pop Smoke I could write a book of better ways they could have used Pop Smoke on this album than the way they did. No Child Left Behind features some of the best and most catchy, most vibey vocals on the project by Vori. Love His Part. The only thing about that track is that like it's just too short. Like there's just a verse by Vori, and then Kanye repeats like the same line a few times, and then the track ends. I feel like if maybe there was like if Vori's part was a chorus and there was verses in between or something, or if Kanye had an actual verse instead of just repeating the same line at the end, or if there was another feature on the track, maybe put J. Cole on that shit or something. I don't know, but I could have thought of a lot of ways they could made that track better. Or longer. Like the track was great. I just thought it could be longer. I want more of that vibe, that feel, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Overall, the track was great. DaBaby's verse on Jail Part 2 was the most lyrical I've ever seen DaBaby get. And I mean, I've never really like researched DaBaby, so that could just be me, but I've never really heard DaBaby get that lyrical or that like, you know, onto that side of the rap spectrum. But I just didn't feel like it fit his voice that well, honestly. Like I didn't. His verse wasn't bad, but I wouldn't call it good either. I feel like the majority of the part 2s on this one were kind of pointless. But yeah, that's basically it. I mean, Roddy Ricch had a nice feature on that one track. There's not much more I can say. I like the album. There was a lot of great tracks. There were a lot of moments where I was just sitting there like, huh? Like with the intro, like with the Pop Smoke track. There was just a lot of moments here where it kind of left me stupefied. But there was also a lot of moments that were great. There were a lot of great tracks here. Kanye kind of fell off on some tracks. But overall, it was a good album. I'd probably give this I would give this a 7 out of 10, a solid 7 out of 10. Yeah, that is my album review of Donda. Pretty good album. If I left anything out, I apologize. I'll probably just write it in the description. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys whenever.